Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram,
Krishna
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram
Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram
Ram Ram Ram Hare Krishna
Ram Ram
Ram Ram Hare Krishna
Ram
Hare Ram Ram
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare
Hare Krishna.
Ram 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 Hare
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna dear devotees. Please, Hare Krishna Mataji, Dharma Pranam, All Guru Shri Srila Prabhupada Guru Maharaj. Welcome you to the Srimad Bhagavatam call. Hare Krishna dear devotees. Today we are very fortunate. We have Her Grace Hema Gopi Dasi Mataji from Mayapur, India. And Mataji is going to enlighten us from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 15, verse 29 onwards. Hare Krishna Mataji, you may take over the call when you are ready.
Thank you. Very grateful for this opportunity. Kindly forgive me. I was somewhere else. I joined a little late because I couldn't find ways of coming back home in. I got delayed because of that. I'm very grateful that you all waited. Thank you so much. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, the Science of God, Chapter 15, entitled Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. Because I joined late, I will just offer prayers and we will proceed. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Kashya Pradeshitavani Vancha Kalpataro Vesha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. 7:15:29 Yata vartadayo hi arta yogasyartam na biprati anartaya bhaveyusma uttam ishtam tatasataha. Yata as varta adayaha, activities like occupational or professional duties. He certainly artaha, income from such occupational duties. Yogasya, of mystic power for self-realization. Artham, benefit. Na, not. Vibrati, help. Anartaya, without value. Binding one to repeated birth and death. Bhaveyuhu, they are. Sma, at all times. Purtam ishtam, ritualistic Vedic ceremonies. Tatha, similarly. Asataha, of materialistic non-devotee. Translation: as professional activities or business profits cannot help one in spiritual advancement, but are a source of material entanglement, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies cannot help anyone who is not a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: if one becomes very rich through his professional activities, through trade, or through agriculture, this does not mean that he is spiritually advanced. To be spiritually advanced is different from being materially rich. Although the purpose of life is to become spiritually rich, unfortunate men, misguided as they are always engaged in trying to become materially rich. Such material engagements, however, do not help one in the actual fulfillment of human mission. On the contrary, material engagements lead one to be attracted to many unnecessary necessities, which are accompanied by the risk that one may be born in degraded condition. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14:18, Urdvam gachanti satvastha madhye stitanti rajasaha jagnas jaghanya guna vrittistaha ado gachanti tamasaha. Those situated in mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in mode of passion live on earthly planets, and those in mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Especially in this Kali Yuga, material advancement means degradation and attraction to many unwanted necessities that create a low mentality. Therefore, Jaghanya Gunavritti Staha. Since people are contaminated by the lower qualities, they will lead their next lives either as animals or in other degraded forms of life. Making a show of religion without Krishna consciousness may make one popular in the estimation of unintelligent men. But factually, such a materialistic display of spiritual advancement does not help one at all. It will not prevent one from missing the goal of life. I will also do verse 30, which is kind of like a companion verse. It looks like a companion verse. One who desires to conquer the mind must leave the company of his family and live in a solitary place, free from contaminated association. To maintain the body and soul together, he should beg as much as he needs for the bare necessities of life. Purport. This is the process for conquering the agitation of the mind. One is recommended to take leave of his family and live alone, maintaining body and soul together by begging alms and eating only as much as needed to keep himself alive. Without such process, one cannot conquer lusty desires. Sannyasa means accepting a life of begging, which makes one automatically very humble and meek and free from lusty desires. In this regard, the following verse appears in the Smriti literature. In the world of duality, family life is the cause that spoils one's spiritual life or meditation. Specifically understanding this fact, one should accept the order of sannyasa without hesitation. So, chapter 15 is titled Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. So there are the human society is divided into two broad categories: civilized human beings and not civilized human beings. And civilized human beings again are categorized as you can be a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. And if you do not behave in one of these categories, then you go into being a Chandala or people who do not follow. These four classes, they follow whatever is mentioned in the scriptures. And they all have some particular duties that they have to perform. according to their position as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. And if they do not follow this injunctions or instructions given in Vedas, they come out of the civilized societies, and they live in a society where the aim is following a so-called pseudo religion, some kind of religion they will follow, and the aim will not be to uplift themselves spiritually, but simply to create better sense gratification. And often if we go further and further away from people who follow the scriptural life, society that follows the scriptural life, we will see that the degradation is greater and greater. And people are at some point, they even stop following some kind of so-called religious practices that may give them some economic, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. They do some so-called religious activity to get some artha, some economic development. And with that economic development, they fulfill their kama or their desires, material desires. And at some point, they feel frustrated and they think, I don't want to do this. It's not very fun, and they aim for liberation. Liberation is for this class of people is temporary cessation of their desire for sense gratification. Liberation in the true sense of the word, moksha, is coming out of material activities. And that is true for people who follow the civilized society, who are members of the civilized society. For those who are not civilized, moksha becomes a very temporary thing also. They just feel fed up from sense gratification. Like you eat one gulab jamun, you feel like, wow, it's nice. 2, I can handle it. Yeah, wonderful. 3, I like it. 4, okay. 5, I'm not so sure if I want to eat more. 6, I can't take it anymore. I want to stop. And 7, please don't show me any more gulab jamun for next 1 week. And then at that point, they don't want to enjoy. So the temporarily they renounce. But then they immediately bounce back, because the renunciation is not true. The renunciation is not because they have truly understood the higher purpose of life. That renunciation simply comes because the material nature is built like that if you try to enjoy too much, you will feel some frustration. And that frustration, they think, is some kind of renunciation. But they will bounce back after some time, and they will again try to do this so-called dharma, artha, kama, moksha. It just goes on. There is 2 classes of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. One for the civilized people who actually follow the scriptural duties prescribed by the scripture, and whatever artha or enjoyment, benefit they get out of that following of the scriptures, they utilize it not for karma or sense gratification, but for going up in their spiritual life. Their karma or desire becomes desire of Krishna. What is the desire of Krishna? That will be my desire also. What is the desire of my spiritual master? That becomes my desire also. So my artha will be used for the fulfillment of the desire of my spiritual master of Krishna. Like that, they streamline it. And in that, and living like that, they attain true liberation or moksha. And the other class, the uncivilized society, they do so-called activities which are religious activities, and interestingly enough, these religious activities often involve a lot of irreligious concepts, like they may kill others. They give um, they do the so-called sacrifice without being qualified to do, and they may kill animals. They may even do narabali. They may kill people. And when they're very, very, very further away from civilized society, they may actually literally kill people without consideration of any religious activity, without thinking of it as a religious activity. People simply may kill others because they think that it is correct. I want to enjoy, and you have what I want to enjoy, so I will kill you even, or I will loot you, or I will harm you in some way, and I will take what is yours so that I can enjoy. So that there is two distinct types of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And this particular chapter is talking about instructions for civilized human beings. We're not talking about the other extreme society, the other society, other part of the human society which does not follow the scriptural injunction. They do not actually get moksha. They only get a temporary cessation of their lusty desires because of overly sense gratification, and that leads to some kind of frustration, and they think that they don't want to have it. But once that feeling goes away, they will come back into the cycle of wanting to enjoy their senses. So this particular verses are talking about let me just get back to the verse 1 second. 9. This particular verse is talking about the three modes and how people in those three modes act. Yeah. And in all three modes, there will be a particular level of entanglement. It is like the covering becomes deeper and deeper. More we are in the lower modes. Yeah. So if a person is in much lower mode, the entanglement of material covering is very intense. And if he is in a slightly higher mode, the entanglement or the covering becomes lesser. And if he is in a mode of goodness, he is still entangled, but the entanglement is easy to overcome. So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 38, these three levels of entanglement are explained. Just as fire is covered by smoke, a mirror is masked by dust, and an embryo is concealed by the womb. Similarly, one's knowledge gets shrouded by desire. Yeah. So when somebody is in the womb, the covering is much more intense. The struggle to remove that covering is very intense. It is very difficult to remove that covering. And that kind of covering is compared to the covering of mode of ignorance, tamas. Yeah, it is very difficult it is very intense. And to break away from that covering is very difficult. And the next level is when you have a covering, like when it is mirror covered by dust. When mirror is covered by dust, it is not as difficult as when you are in womb. You only have to take some kind of clothes and you wipe it. Probably you have to put a little bit more effort like use some force. If it is a very thick layer of dust, you have to use a greater amount of energy. But it is not, the removal of that covering of dust is not going to be as difficult as removal of the womb that is covering a child. A child who tries to come out of the womb has to make a greater endeavor, and to remove the covering of dust is lesser endeavor. So that is compared to the mode of a passion. And then fire is covered by smoke. So this is the least level of covering. When the fire is covered by smoke, you cannot see the original fire. When a mirror is covered by dust, you cannot see the original mirror. When an embryo is covered by the womb, you cannot see the original embryo. Similarly, a living entity is covered by lust, you cannot see the pure form of the living entity. The spirit soul is unmanifested in that form. Or but the the smoke covering fire is considered least, because all you have to do is just like, you just blow some air, and the smoke will get displaced, and you will be able to see the fire. And so like that, there are different levels of entanglement, and depending on which level we are, coming out of entanglement becomes proportionately difficult. And the only way when one becomes completely without entanglement is when one is under practicing Krishna consciousness under able guidance. Srila Prabhupada says that in the human form of life, one can conquer this enemy lust by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under able guidance. So often we think being in mode of goodness in itself is some kind of spiritual credit. Like, oh, I wake up so early, or I am very, I maintain very high standard of cleanliness. I'm very good in studying scriptures. I practice some kind of yagya, I do puja. When we are doing these activities, just in the mode of goodness, it is like the smoke covering fire. It is a much lighter covering, but it is still a covering. So mode of goodness in itself is not enough for sustaining one's Krishna consciousness. So if one wants to truly come up to become distangled from these modes, one has to maintain a very pure existence. It is not mode of goodness, it's mode of pure goodness. And the next verse talks about that mode of pure goodness. And it may sound like kind of because this chapter talks about Brahmanas who are leaders of the society, and this class of people generally, also the Brahmanas eventually in their life, even though they may start as brahmacharis and lead a life of grihastha, eventually the Brahmanas end up being sannyasis, and they become the leaders of the whole society. So including even those who are not civilized. So the standards mentioned in this verse are meant for Brahmanas, sannyasa, people who are completely detached from any kind of contaminated association. So they become eligible to lead all the other category of the civilized humans, and even those people who are in the non-civilized society. So in order for them to become that kind of leaders, verse 30 gives a very high standard of um, behavior and uh, the way they live, a very high standard is given, so they have to leave the company of family. This is not an instruction meant for a brahmana who is a brahmachari or a grihastha, but in this particular context we are talking about sannyas. Prabhupada explains that this particular verse is for people who are in sannyas level. But Srila Prabhupada has also said that sannyas, somebody who is practicing sannyas in Krishna conscious and somebody who is practicing grihastha life in Krishna conscious, both of them are equally glorious. One of them, sannyasa, they actually leave the company of family. They actually choose to have a solitary life. They may live among the society members, but they don't have anybody as a company. In that sense, they are solitary. They will always, they have just their danda that they can carry around everywhere. And they're free from any kind of a contaminated association. They do not look for any kind of a variety of eating, variety of female opposite gender association. They do not, and their dealing with body is only to the level that the body is good enough to keep the soul inside. They don't ignore their body. They take care of their body with bare necessity of food and clothing and medicine and whatever, so that the body and soul are together. So that the body can be utilized for the service of the Lord. So that their living standard is very high. And Srila Prabhupada explains how the grihasthas living in proper Krishna consciousness, their life is also very, very glorious. In fact, their life is way more glorious because they are given permission to have family. But and they have wife and children, but their attachment to them is not on the bodily platform. They do not just see the wife as an object of enjoyment. They do not see the children as people who are meant to serve them. They are very detached on the material platform. Their attachment stays to the level of protecting the Krishna consciousness of these family members, which is much more difficult than just simply leaving the family and being a solitary person. It is much more difficult to have a beautiful wife and who cooks all these palatable dishes and children who are fond of you, and then maintain a very high level of detachment or show a level of attachment that is only meant for uplifting them spiritually. So their life is much more difficult. If difficult is not the correct word. They're much more glorious compared to somebody who can actually give that all up. And they should not also have contaminated association. Means they should train their dependents, wife and children, in such a way that they don't get, if the wife gets contaminated, then you get contaminated. If children go into wrong association, even if we don't go into wrong association, them being in a wrong association is very disturbing to our spiritual life. We start thinking so much, where did I fail? How did I fail? What should I do? How do I deal with it? It takes a lot of our energy away from Krishna. So we have to be consciously guiding our dependents so that they can always remain in a pure state, so that their association is not contaminating us. And we should train them not to be consumeristic. And that life is meant for just keeping our body and soul together, so that the rest of all our opulences can be utilized in the service of the Lord. So when you are grihastha, it is a greater challenge, because you are not just practicing it for yourself, you are training your dependents to do that. Of course, when you become a sannyasi, you have so many more dependents, all your disciples and maybe their families, you are guiding them. The guiding becomes like a super mass scale preaching. But a grihastha is glorious in his or her own way, because they do it with the, they're closer to the border. They're very close to being attacked by lust, anger, greed. They're very close to those objects of sense gratification, and still they maintain their Krishna consciousness. So they're glorious in their own way. And they practice exactly the very same principles, but in the association of their family. And Srila Prabhupada, excuse me, Mataji, how many minutes is this class supposed to be? May I know, Mataji?
Mataji, you can, we usually do till 8:10, 8:15. So maybe 20 more minutes.
20 more minutes, sorry. Okay. So if one can practice Krishna consciousness in such a way that whether they are in the level of Brahmana or level of Kshatriya or Vaishya or Shudra, or one is in the level of one is brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha or sannyasa, if one can practice Krishna consciousness in such a way as explained by verse 30, it is a verse meant for sannyasis. Brahmanas usually evolve in the society to become sannyasis, and they become the leaders of the whole society eventually. So if whatever one might be in, whatever state one might be in, if they can follow this principle that they are the servant of the servant of the servant of the master of the gopis, if they reach that level of who is Krishna, if they reach that level, then all these external duties that one has to perform for the sake of the society, because they are grihastha, they may do this duties. Because one is a kshatriya, he has to do this. One is a sannyasi, he has to behave, avoid company of family, live in solitary place, become free from contaminated association, maintain body and soul together by begging as much as one need for bare minimum necessity of life. Whatever, one may do all these things, but one's consciousness should be that he or she is the servant of the servant of the servant of the master of the gopis. And once we reach that level, then we are no more entangled by the three modes of nature. We may act, Brahmanas are supposed to be acting in mode of goodness. Kshatriyas are in mixed mode. They act in mode of goodness and passion together. Sometimes they have to be passionate when it comes to protecting, and Vaishyas are in mode of passion, and Shudras are in mode of ignorance. So even if we may do those duties which are described for those particular varnas and ashramas, we will never become entangled. We will never have a situation where we are covered like how an embryo is covered in womb, or how mirror is covered by dust, or even how smoke covers a fire. Even that much of entanglement will not be there. And something that devotees should be very conscious is that it is not enough to be just in mode of goodness. We cannot simply say, if I develop mode of goodness, then that is enough. Mode of goodness is like a safety net. When you fall down, you may not fall down very deeply into lower modes.
रिलीज कर देती है
हाँ ये लेते हैं
किसमें रखोगी मैं रखूं
हाँ रख लो
इसका क्या करना
ये शैम्पू है
नहीं
Somebody
ठीक है,
has
बाबा
their
रखो।
mic on.
Clear.
Is it more you want to
Hare
say
Krishna.
something to the
Ashwara Mataji, can you please mute your phone? Thank you, Mataji. Sorry, Mataji.
So I was just telling how devotees should not just become satisfied by being just in mode of goodness. Mode of goodness, when somebody falls down, then to have a safety net is a good plan B. Without the safety net, we may just fall down into a very, very low position. So that mode of goodness may act like a safety net. But mode of goodness in itself is not qualification, or it in itself is not a practice of devotional life. Devotional life is practiced in a very specific way. Now, we need to utilize each and every one of our senses in the service of the Lord. Not just for being sense controlled, not just for being absorbed in meditation, not just having the correct knowledge, not just realizing that aham brahmasmi, I am not body but spirit soul. No, all those are realizations that are coming from mode of goodness. But mode of pure goodness, shuddha sattva, when people are in that category, their realizations, their behavior and their realization does not stop at aham brahmasmi, it goes further. And what is that further? I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the master of the gopis. I am spirit soul is mode of goodness. I am servant of Krishna is mode of pure goodness. And the activities are not just like, let me read scriptures, let me perform yagya for getting some benefit. Their activities will all be directed towards pleasing the Lord. Just like how Ambarish Maharaj was showing by his personal example. In Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 9, Canto 9 is Ambarish Maharaj's pastime. Some Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayor. There is 3 verses that glorify how Ambarish Maharaj engaged everything in service of the Lord. Mana Krishna Padara Vindayor. The mind is meant for meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the topmost of all the senses. So first to capture the mind to meditate on the lotus feet of Krishna. Then Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane. Then Vacha, our ability to speak, should be utilized for describing the glories of the Lord. And then Karo Hari Mandira Marjana. Hand should be used for cleaning the temple of the Lord. And Shrutim Chakar Archita Sat Katode. Your ears should be used for hearing about the pastime of the Lord. And eye should be used for seeing the deity of the Lord. And Mukunda Linga Alaya Darshane Drishav Tadbritya Gartha Sparshe Anga Sangamam. Our sense of touch, that is also one sense, that sense of touch. You can get that sense of touch satisfied by touching the body of the devotees, touching their bodies in their service, for massaging them, for serving them. And then the sense of Angasangamam, then Grahanam cha tad pada saroj saurave Srimad Tulasya Rasanam tad arpite. Then it is smell. So you can smell the flowers offered and tulasi offered to the Lord, and it tastes whatever is offered to Krishna, only that you should eat. And your legs, Padav Hari Kshetra Padanu Sarpane. Use your legs to go to Kshetra, to different temples. And Zero, the head, it should be used for offering obeisances to the Lord. And like that, and your desire, your kama is desire, dharma artha kama moksha. So kamam cha dasye natu kama kamyaya. Your desire should become the desire of the Lord. you should not have any desire for your own self. Whatever the Lord desires, whatever the devotee desires, that should become one's own desire. Serving the devotees, serving the desires of the devotees, serving the desires of the Lord, that should become one's own desire. And like this, every sense, Ambarish Maharaj is a Yatottama Sloka Janashraya. If one takes shelter of great devotees, like Prahalad Maharaj, then their attachment to the material world will decrease drastically, and they will become completely free from any kind of desire of material sense gratification. That means immediately they can go above these three modes, and it is the easiest. You don't have to perform anything artificially. No need to do meditation. No need to artificially control the senses. There's the story of Saubari Muni was under the water meditating for 10,000 years. And he opened his eye for 2 seconds. And in that 2 seconds, he saw a couple of fish mating. And that was it. That one sense degraded him down. And he went out of the water and he went straight to the king. And he got 50 of his daughters, the princesses. And he married them all, and he had a very long period of sense gratification with all those 50 princesses. So anything we perform artificially to control our senses, they all fall under mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And their effectiveness accordingly will decrease. Some artificial controlling in mode of goodness could be little bit stronger, and artificial controlling in mode of ignorance will not be strong at all. Easily your senses will be defeated. So we should never perform anything in these modes. We should strongly go following the footsteps of Ambarish Maharaj, and utilize each and every one of our senses. And then whatever we may be sannyasi, we may be vanaprastha, grihastha, brahmachari, we may be whatever may be our ashram, whatever may be our varna, we will be protected from the onslaught of the material world. So to summarize this chapter is called Instructions to the Civilized Humans. And the set of verses are particularly dealing with instructions to Brahmanas and Sannyasis. And in verse number 29, we saw about the nature of the three modes and how this nature, three modes make us do different activities, which themselves are very entangling. So just by doing only our duty as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, we cannot become a devotee. Just by being in goodness, passion, or ignorance, one cannot become a devotee. Whatever we are doing, that activity should be specifically aimed towards pleasing the Supreme Lord. And verse number 30 gives that as an instruction, that we should utilize all our facilities given for existence in this material world in the service of the Lord. And there is talk about renouncing family, and the true renunciation of family is making them Krishna consciousness. There is talk about meditation, and true meditation is like how Ambarish Maharaj does, meditate on the beautiful form of the Lord. And there is talk about becoming free from contaminated association, and that is done by engaging each and every one of our senses in the service of the Lord. And like that, wherever we are, we will become devotees of the Lord without struggling and without doing anything artificial. So that is the essence of, or the summary of today's lesson. Thank you so much. If there are any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Madana Pranam for you, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Rupini Padma Devi Dasi from Orlando, Florida. So Mataji, I've heard you first time. Wonderful class, wonderful realization. So much nicely you shared about the how you connected the modes of material nature to the covering, and stressing on the fact that the mode of goodness is not the ultimate. So, so when Mataji, you talk about Suddha Sattva, to be in a pure devotional service, we should have to be. So it's very hard for one to understand because first of all, constantly we are because of our material situation, we are moving, trying to struggle to move to mode of sattva from passion and ignorance, and then moving further to that is is it that when with my very very little understanding, very minute understanding, is it like when we are chanting we are in the mode of shuddha sattva? If you're chanting like properly hearing or hearing class, is that the shuddha sattva? Or because for example, if I'm sleeping a lot, I'm in mode of ignorance, a lot of sleep is coming to me or whatever is situation. So it's a concrete example of sleep, and the person is sleeping like 10 hours, mode of ignorance, that label comes in. So what can you give me some an example of shuddha sattva, if more than one or whatever, that can help us understand that at least for myself, my mind can open to, okay, now from mode of goodness we have to reach that place. So if you can enlighten us with Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. It's a very practical question. It's a true challenge, because in Nectar of Devotion also we see that people do not beginning stages of devotional service, people cannot maintain devotional service in a constant way. It will be like a sine wave going up and down. Those who know science, they know it looks like S, goes up like a flat S, it goes up sometime and then you hit some bottom where you can't chant, and and then again somehow or other you go up again and you have like some nice period of devotional life, and then you go down again. So it all becomes like some kind of merged, it becomes like some kind of merged reality. So it becomes difficult to know clearly, like whether my action is in mode of Shuddha Sattva, or whether my action is in Sattva Guna, or Rajas or Tamas, and devotional activities themselves can also be, unless it is practiced with the aim of, unless it is performed as pure devotional service. Anyabhilashita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. That is the definition of Rupa Goswami. You should not have any kind of anya abhilasha. You should not have any kind of desire that is not in alignment with the Lord Krishna's desire. Yeah. And jnana karmadi anavritam. The activity should not be performed with the hope. It should not be tinged with jnana or karma. Jnana is like a mental speculation. Prabhupada says jnana can be termed as mental speculation. You do not perform service in a speculative way. And karmadi means fruitive activities. You do not perform it for getting some mundane result. It should be anavritam. It should not have those. And anukulyena krishnanusilana, and that is called uttama bhakti. Anukulya, whatever is favorable, or whatever is not favorable, how do you say, whatever is pleasing to Krishna. Whatever is pleasing to Krishna, whatever Krishna desires, if we do it in that way, then that is Uttama Bhakti. That is pure devotional service. That is an act performed. That is the definition of Uttama Bhakti. So when whatever activity we are doing, if you can align all those activities, if you can put this definition on all those activities, and if you can see, am I devoid of material desires when I am doing it? Am I devoid of mental speculation? I am doing this activity, this is some serious problem devotees face, like speculative devotional service. They do some activities thinking that it means that, or like how can you say, like as if they are in some higher level. Sometimes we may behave like that also, as if we are in some higher level. When I make garland, only then the garland stays nice on the deity. When others do, the garlands don't look nice on the deity. Some kind of speculative is not just philosophical speculation, where we may think I am one with God. Those are dangerous speculations. But even this kind of speculations are popular among devotees. When we are worshipping deities, we may compare and we may see ourselves higher, or we may understand the philosophy in a wrong way. So those kind of, if we take our activities and just match it with this, do I have material desires? No. Is my service tinged with the fruitive action? Am I doing it for getting some kind of if you worship Krishna, you will get this benefit or that benefit? Or am I having this kind of monastic philosophical inclination, or other kind of speculative actions? Am I doing it to please my spiritual master? Am I doing it in such a way that it is favorable, it is seen favorably by Krishna, and it is in line with Krishna's desire is everybody becomes devotee and everybody comes back, goes back to Godhead. So if we can use this verse as a checklist, and then we will see that the categorization is different. Sleeping is no more mode of ignorance. Sleeping can also become mode of goodness, mode of pure goodness, when you are sleeping, so that you can regain the energy to serve the Lord. Anger is no more mode of passion. You can burn whole of Lanka, and that is pure devotional service. Philosophy is no more mode of goodness. You can utilize the philosophy for spreading Krishna consciousness. So the scale is not the activities itself. The scale is the intention of the activity. So there is the clarity becomes higher when the intention becomes clearer. Why am I doing it? The activities in themselves then become pure devotional service, or they become tinged with goodness, ignorance, or passion. And even when we are performing devotional service, we will see ourselves in a wave. Sometimes we are so clear about that pleasing Krishna is the only thing we want to do. And sometimes we may hit a bottom that we will do things that are not like very purely intended, and we may want some other things out of devotional service, and we will bounce back again, and eventually after going up and down like that, with continuous due practice, even if we go down, we don't give up. We keep pushing and we try to hit a high, and again somehow because we live in material world, we may hit a low, and then again we push high, and we see that in spite of hitting a low, when we keep pushing for performing pure devotional service repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, at some point it becomes more stable. The waves don't fluctuate so much. When you reach the high level, you more or less can maintain being in that pure state of pure devotional service for much longer period. Or even when you fall down to some kind of a not so Krishna conscious practice, you will recuperate and go back to pure devotional service very quickly. So so those are two things we should remember, that the actions itself do not determine which is the mode. It is the intention with which the action is done. And even when we are trying to practice pure devotional service, it is possible that sometimes we may be pulled down, and we should never give up. We may get tinged with the jnana karma the anavritam, some those things may come in between, and we should consciously push ourselves back. And we need to keep practicing it. In new stage, it will be frequently falling down and going up, falling down and going up, and eventually it will become more stable. So those two aspects have to be considered. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. You explained so nicely, like you have to kind of be very conscious and monitor yourself, that is it connected to, or is it the pleasure of Krishna? Because sometimes what happens, there are certain things, are done, say, oh, Krishna planned this, Krishna wanted this. And we are doing things on our own, and we just putting Krishna in the middle, that he's the one who planned. Our mind is working towards doing things, right? Whatever
True,
material.
true, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, especially if it is with our dependents, our children, our counselees, juniors to us, we should be very conscious not to mess them up. We should make them see that these things are happening as Krishna's will by their own accord. Not because I want it and they respect me as senior devotee, I will say that this is Krishna's will. So this is a very important point also. It may mess up our juniors, it may mess up our children, because it is only a projection, it's a mental speculation. So mental speculation means there will be clash. So whenever you say this is Krishna's will, somebody may not be able to see it as Krishna's will, and then we will lose those new children, or new devotees, or even our own children whom we are trying to bring up in Krishna consciousness. That's a very, very important point, Mataji. Thank you for highlighting it.
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, can you repeat what you said last? Important point. I
said that this point that you said regarding we want to do something, but we always try to project it as Krishna wants it. Yes. I said this could be very unfavorable for cultivation of the devotional service of newcomers who are under us, or our dependents, like family members, like that. It might harm them, because it is mental speculation. It is not, it is tinged with mental speculation.
Because they are not at that age. So we have to be a little conscious that, not to say that to people who are new, right?
Even to people whom we know, don't tell that to your husband, even if he is a devotee, because it is mental speculation,
So Mataji, somewhere along the line in your class, I got one feeling that you mentioned that, associate with devotees and not with non-devotees. And because that will, this thing. And I don't know about, there are many people on the conference call, but I'm one of them who is in a situation where there are not all devotees around me, including my spouse and others. Like, no, Hare Krishna, they're not Hare Krishna devotees. So Mataji, I always feel that, that I am like, how do I say it? I mean, for me, my favorite character is Prahlad Maharaj. If Prahlad Maharaj was not there in the Bhagvatam, I would have thought that probably I would have left bhakti and been under some other influence. I'm seeing a small little boy taking so much endurance. I mean, that much I don't have to. But what I mean to say is, my question is that I always feel that, because, see, for example, if there is a husband wife coming to temple, right? They both are devotees, all devotional services going on, and they are like again performing in the temple. Now I'm coming from a background where somebody saying, why you want to go every Sunday? Or, like, it's okay. Can you do like quick offering? I mean, it's like taking too much time. You don't have to put offering for 15 minutes. Or, something or the other is going on in the home where I'm not able to do, like properly. And I'm always struggling. So, like, is this struggle is going to give a tinge of what I mean to say is this an obstacle for me? Like, in the sense that I should leave everything and go somewhere else? What do I do? Because I'm not able to do it like diligently, nicely, influence everyone that do it, the way I'm doing it, follow me. Because I'm not that kind of person who will, superimpose on anyone in the family if they're not following. But at the same time, my bhakti is tinged because I'm constantly in touch with people who are not Krishna conscious around me, family, relatives, friends, So I thought I'll ask you this question, and just if you can explain to me so I can think more positively.
When we say about not taking association, it does not mean do not talk to people. Not taking association means do not inherit their values. That's two different things, like my children are in university. They are in Italy, they're studying in university, and they are the only Hare Krishnas there. They have their deities in the hostel room. They cook, they offer, they take prasadam, and they don't eat in hotels, college canteen, anything. And they have a lot of karmi friends per se, they talk to them, and they exchange notes, whatever, where this is not considered association. What is considered association is when you actually imbibe what they think is value. When you take that as value, then you are associating with them. So you should be there. It is not, especially in Kali Yuga, it is especially in Srila Prabhupada's movement, it is not allowed at all that somebody will give up their responsibilities on the material platform, because the material duties have nothing to do with the spiritual life. Where you are sitting can be a prison house, but that cannot stop you from chanting Hare Krishna. So what is your external has nothing to do with your Krishna consciousness at all. So in fact, fortunate are those people who can create a positive impact because of their Krishna conscious values. Like you go there, on your birthday, you give everybody some prasadam cake, or you show some of those devotional qualities, like you don't cheat, you are punctual. If you are a devotee, you go on the altar punctually. 8:15 means 8:15 you are on the altar. Aarti starts at 8:30 means 8:30 it starts. There are loads of lists of qualities mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, mentioned in Bhagavatam, qualities of devotees. So when you exhibit those qualities and people see those qualities, then they are taking your association and they become positively influenced to practice Krishna consciousness. They may not chant Hare Krishna, they may not even appreciate you wearing kanti mala or whatever, but they will feel that this person has become a better person after having accepted Krishna conscious. So these tiny things like 15 minutes offering or 5 minutes offering, these things are details. If you can adjust those details, but you cannot adjust the principle. Like you cannot give up offering, but how many minutes you offer, that you can adjust. You cannot give up chanting, but when you chant, how you chant, that can be adjusted. So the principles you should stick to. And when we say don't take association of don't take association, it simply means don't put yourself in such a position that you will start feeling like, yeah, actually, why am I going through all this? Why can't I just be like this is Ekadashi, I have a meeting, and it's a luncheon meeting. Everybody is eating whatever is served, and I am sitting there requesting for a fruit platter. Everybody is staring at me, and even in a normal day, I can only eat something like curd rice, which has no onion or garlic. When everybody is enjoying onion garlic with paneer and onion garlic in naan or whatever, So
Yeah.
when we start imbibing or seeing those as better things than what we are doing, then we are truly associating. Otherwise, we are not associating simply because we are in some place with some people.
Very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much for mentioning that, because off and on, one gets discouraged, but still one continues, and chanting is the only thing which, puts one on track. It's like a big savior, especially I feel thing for people who are not always with devotees, because like once you start chanting, then you have a, like, immediately you feel the purification and you feel okay. Any problem, anything, you just chant and you get out of that material energy, you get out of that association. And so rightly you said, we really have to be a good example. Another thought was coming to me, but I just forgot. But yeah, others can ask question. But I really your understanding of Krishna consciousness is very, very clear, Mataji. And I really appreciate your class, and we hope to have your association more here. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
It's all Guru Maharaj's blessing, my Siksha Guru's blessing. I just hear from devotees, I just repeat. So I don't have any credit except for the credit that I can repeat it from my memory. Thank you for the encouragement. Any other comments or questions? Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All good to Srila Prabhupada. As usual, your class was so impactful, so powerful, and so deep, and very nectarian. It was so clear, and you also summarized at the end of the chapter about the duties of somebody with a human body, especially in the high modes. So it's very important to reflect on that. And he said that Sataguna is not the highest one, and Sataguna for the devotees is important, because Sataguna acts as a floor, as a something to fall down. It's very, very important to realize, because yes, that material world is we are always swimming against the current. So it's very, very important that we do not we hold on to something at least, so that we can stay fixed. Hold on to the support of Sataguna, so that we do not flow along with the current, but stay there when the tides, or when the float subsides, maybe we'll get a chance to swim across. So that is very important to reflect, because yes, modes are so strong. Krishna says, Abhyas yogena tukantya vairagyena grihati. So Abhyas, we should keep on doing the Abhyas. Otherwise, and the Sataguna will bring us the detachment. So along with that, Abhyas will bring attachment. So it will be that one. Isha vinivartante nihara sadehina. So what was, so yes, paramdrishta nivartate. So paramdrishta nivartate is like, unless you get a taste for Krishna, this detachment will be falgu, will be baseless. And so at that time, at least you will not be falling down. That is very important to reflect, that you will not be falling down to the Rajaguna, Tamaguna, because even in that case, even the Vairagya, the detachment from material thing itself will be gone. So very, very important, Mataji. To practice Sataguna at least, and then chanting will launch us from the rocket pad, or from the launch pad. Haribol Mataji. Please grace us with your association more and more in the future. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very grateful for your encouragement.
Hare Krishna, Hema Gopi Devi Mataji, thank you for the wonderful class, and the clarity and conviction you have is really helping. Mataji, my question is, you know, when we do devotional service, yeah, we can be either Bhajananandi or Goshtananandi, where Bhajananandi is focused on our own practice and doing that, and then Goshtananandi is, of course, preaching. And in Srila Prabhupada's movement, it is encouraged to preach more and more. So even in devotional service, is there like one is better than the other? Especially because, you know, when we take our initiation vows, to my Guru Maharaj, at least I had to say that I will serve in the movement of Srila Prabhupada as servant of servant. So, so is it enough to just do our service in like our practice, or is it very imperative that we also serve others by preaching? And is that a better devotional service than just doing our rounds, our sadhana? Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. I just wanted to extend your understanding of Bhajananandi and Goshtanandi. So both of them, their priority is to perfect their spiritual life. It is not that Bhajananandis are focused on their spiritual life and Goshtanandis are in group and they are preachers. Both of them, the primary thing both of them have to do is focus on uplifting themselves spiritually. So what is the difference? Bhajananandis try to do it on their own strength, alone. Goshtanandis derive strength from each other. They get each other's support. You know, I do something wrong, I have a devotee friend who will come and hit my back of my head and say, what nonsense are you doing, Hema Gopi? I accept that support. If I am alone sitting in Radha Kund, trying to improve my spiritual life, and if I am falling down, I may not even have the slightest hint that I am falling down till I have totally gone lost. So that is why Srila Prabhupada says that we should be in group. We should be in the association. And the second main characteristic of difference between these two groups is that Bhajananandis, they focus on improvement of their spiritual life. But they stop there. They do not go any further than their own practices. And Goshtanandis, they will not only try to help improve their spiritual, they not only improve their spiritual life, they will try to help others also. And which includes others, not just like other devotees. You know, we are a group of devotees. So if some guy is doing something wrong, then I go and say, Prabhu, come on, don't do this, you know, or I'm going something wrong. Some Mataji may come and say, Hema Gopi, don't, you know. So we do that. We network with each other, but we also bring more people into network. We work for bringing more and more people so that the support is stronger. The help we get is stronger. So so is it important to it is not about, is it okay to just to do my service, or is it better to preach? We have to do both. First, we have to make sure that our spiritual practices are pakka, and then we have to watch around us to see that all our friends are doing well. And if we have the adhikar, if we have that relationship with them, that we can correct somebody because they are not in proper way, we should do it. And then on top of it, we bring in more people as a team. You know, we go on Harinam, we go on Prasadam distribution, we go on, you know, all the spiritual activities are in group, even if you are worshipping in the altar, one pujari is dressing, one pujari is cooking, one is offering, one is doing arati. It's a team, and the person who comes newly to the temple is totally attracted, and then one devotee comes and gives books, and then there is another one who does the follow up and then introduces them to bhakti rickshaw, go to the nearest center, and so on. So we utilize our strength as a group to bring more people so that we can become stronger. So they are not exclusive activities, they are interconnected activities. Growing oneself strong spiritually and preaching, they go hand in hand. They are not mutually exclusive that you can choose one or other or think one is better than other. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji, thank you very much for that clarity. Hare
Thank you. If there are no other comments or questions, we can end this session today here, Mataji. Is that
Mataji,
okay?
I came to my memory. Yesterday, I was mentioning this on the call. Like, for example, I was not a pure vegetarian because my grandparents were, but parents were not. So then, gradually from there, I came to become vegetarian because I had some problem with my daughter, some issues, material world, like health issues. So one Pandit told me, then I left meat and egg. Then gradually what happened, I met the Hare Krishnas, and then I left the onion and garlic. And then from onion garlic, then they said, no, you not having, then you can offer food. So then I started offering, not immediately, but yes, I started offering food. So then after starting offering food, then I was, I'm like moving from step to step. Finally, I came here. So is this a good example how to move from ignorance to Shuddha Sattva?
It's
Like this?
example.
Yeah, this is the way we have to go about in life. Like, okay, for example, we are hearing classes, but we're not hearing very properly. We are reading, but it's irregular. So we have to keep on moving up the ladder, improving. That's how we'll reach the Shuddha Sattva.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
The
what
consistency.
Okay.
Yes. The consistency of performance of devotional service eventually leads us to do it in a pure way. Of course, there are people who consistently attempt, but they stick only to a minimal level of Krishna consciousness. Like you showed constantly some enthusiasm to, there was a reason for giving up meat, and then eventually you were able to give up onion, garlic, then you were able to offer. There was some progress, but there are people who are consistent but are stagnant. They will not raise their standards of spiritual practice because of lack of introspection. And so eventually, naturally, simply by the power of devotional service, even those people will eventually reach pure devotional service. But when we make a conscious effort to introspect and see, can I do this better? Can I do, maybe this can be done in a nicer way. I chant only 8 rounds in the morning. Can I push it to make 12 rounds in the morning? Like when the introspection is one of the ingredients that we add to our sincere efforts or consistent efforts, then the progress is faster. But even if that is not there, eventually it will come. Eventually, but it will be much slower, but eventually they will reach a higher stage, but that introspection and making some conscious changes in lifestyle, making some conscious decision for maintaining our Krishna consciousness, that will make the progress much faster.
Yes, and also in the other aspects also in life, where it's hearing or like any other situation, Ekadashi, for example, like it's easy to keep it like a complete, now Nirjala Ekadashi is coming. Nirjala Ekadashi is, it was easy to keep for, Narsinga Chaturdashi. But then it is hard to keep on Ekadashi, because there
Yeah,
everybody is fasting and the devotee association, at dusk we ate. But then when we think of Nirjala again, we become like, okay, that's like, not having anything at all in the evening. And, so then, so gradually we just kind of, every time, like improve on every aspect of Krishna consciousness. And then we will move upper than sattvic mode. So just wanted that confirmation, because that is all is there in our hand to do. Otherwise, for me, living in the material world, I can't even think of this sattvic thing. Just doesn't settle in my mind in any way. I'm just
You're very
barely reaching.
fortunate, Mataji.
No,
Being attached to mode of goodness is one of the most difficult things to develop a detachment for. Mode of goodness can be very something that can give a strong attachment to him. So it is true that if we can fast on Nirjal Ekadashi in a Nirjal way, it is very good for our spiritual life. It is true. But if we cannot do it, we will not progress any less. It is better than to just do regular Ekadashi and focus more on aspects like chanting more. And in some devotees places, I know they give you like warm tea and cold drinks, whatever is your preference. But they will say, you come and stay in our house. The target is not to do Nirjal fasting. The target is to do 64 rounds. And the target is to complete reading some chapter of Bhagavad Gita or some section of Bhagvatam, like that, So those are direct devotional service, chanting and reading Bhagvatam, Bhagavad Gita, going to visit temples, worshipping deity. All those are direct devotional service, activities that are directly devotional service. And these are all supplements that nourish it. So even if you don't have those supplements, which often rise from mode of goodness, it is not going to affect your devotional service. You can simply take your prasadam and focus on increasing direct devotional service to the Lord. If you chant 64 rounds and you didn't do Nirjal, but you did Nirjal, you couldn't even chant your 16 rounds, or you chanted your 16 rounds or 25 rounds, but thinking about food, hunger, and not directly about Krishna. Of the two, the first is better.
yes. I heard that before, Mataji. Very true, very true.
So it is okay if we cannot have some of the supplementary activities of devotional service that will increase. Following Ekadashi is main principle. It's not a supplementary activity. Ekadashi itself is direct devotional service. But doing Nirjal on that day or doing some extra, like some extra things on that day, those things, if you can do, that is helping, strengthen. But if those things actually become an obstacle, better not to focus on them,
Yes, Mataji. And Mataji, from this answer, one question is coming. They say that in Krishna consciousness is a direct worship. We directly worship Krishna, right? And there are other two also, which is like Paramatma worship, and then there's another one, Brahma Jyoti, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we actually come to know about Krishna consciousness, then although we are chanting Lord's name is different from Lord, but there are other activities which we are doing which is not direct. Like, for example, like if we are offering bhoga, we are not directly offering to Krishna. We are offering to a guru, and then guru to Srila Prabhupada, and the whole parampara goes like that, right? So in that way, it is, some parts are directly worship, like we chanting, but some parts we are not directly doing. And is that also direct, or I don't have understanding? Even offering bhoga to a guru.
Offering to Krishna is direct devotional service.
Hmm.
Offering to Krishna through spiritual master is a greater direct devotional service. Because in order to reach Krishna, the quickest way is through devotees. So if you directly approach Krishna and say, I am offering this to you, Krishna won't even see your plate, There's nothing you can actually give that Krishna wants from us. So what actually then Krishna wants? Krishna wants that humility from us. I want to serve your devotee. And why do I want to serve your devotee? Because that is what is pleasing to you. So in ISKCON, there is no concept of directly offering anything to Krishna. Everything, not only bhoga, whatever we want to give to Krishna, it will only be through the channel of parampara. Because that is the only thing that is true. That is the only thing that is real. And that is more direct devotional service than approaching Krishna directly. We have the famous pastime of Raghunath Das Goswami, who was trying to take association of Lord Chaitanya. He wanted to leave all his zamindar life, multimillionaire. He was a multimillionaire. No, he wanted to leave everything. And thrice he left and he escaped all of that, and he went to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu simply sent him back. But when he took shelter of Lord Nityananda, at that time, Panihati festival happened. It's a very famous festival. Everybody knows about it. At that time, Lord Chaitanya accepted him. After Panihati festival, when Raghunath Das Goswami escaped his multi-million-dollar situation and went to become a renounced follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he went through Nityananda, then he got that blessing. So when we talk about direct devotional service, direct does not mean direct to Krishna. Direct means through the parampara to Krishna. And what is indirect devotional service? Indirect devotional service is when it is not directed to Krishna. For example, somebody may worship Saraswati, and they may pray to Saraswati for knowledge. But Saraswati cannot give knowledge to anybody if she does not get the permission of the Lord. This pastime happens also in Chaitanya Charitamrita. We have the pastime of what is the Kashmiri Pandit? What is his name? He comes to challenge the Navadip Vasis, and then they will all put Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as their representative. They'll say, if we are defeated, then we will say this was just a small boy. So he just got defeated because he's small kid. If he doesn't defeat Nimai Pandit, then we will say even the smallest boy in our city can defeat greatest scholar. Thinking like that, all the scholars will put Nimai Pandit as representation, and Nimai Pandit will go to bath in Ganga, and there will be the Pandit will meet with Nimai, and he will sing a song glorifying Mother Ganga using 100 verses. And Nimai Pandit will point out how one of the verses was wrong. And like that, he will defeat. And when the Pandit is defeated, he feels so hurt because he is a very staunch worshipper of Saraswati. So he will cry to Saraswati, how could you make me get defeated by like an impudent child? He just came for bathing in Ganga, and just like that, he pointed out so many faults and in my poetry, and he defeated me just like that, and he was crying. And that night, Saraswati Devi came, and she told him, you are blessed that anybody who wants to defeat you, I would give you blessing to defeat, but I cannot give you blessings to defeat Nimai Pandit because he is my master. My power to give you blessings comes from that master. So how can I give you a blessing that you could defeat Nimai, who is my master also? So that is indirect worship. When they worship demigods, when they worship Bhuta, Preta, Pishasha, or other cinema actors, whatever, all those are not directly pointed towards Krishna, and they may bring some results because the sanctioning is from Krishna. So that is indirect worship. So when we talk about Paramatma and Brahman, there is not an actual level of worship as such. When somebody is in Brahman. They are not worshipping Brahman. They are just sitting there as part and parcel of Brahman. Just like you are in a train with many people, you just there as a part of a package. And when you have Paramatma realization, Paramatma realization can lead to few paths. If somebody is very sincere, the Paramatma realization may lead to Bhagavan realization. They may get higher knowledge that can lead them to Krishna. They may get an understanding that Krishna is the source of Paramatma. Or Paramatma realization can lead to lot of material benefits like Ashtasiddhi, Navanidhi, all this. You can become bigger than the planet, become smaller than a keyhole and enter into a room. You can create planets. You can, those are all Ashtasiddhis, So it comes with material benedictions, lot of material benedictions. So depending on the sincerity of the practitioner, he may get promoted to Bhagavan worship, or he may just be stuck with the benedictions coming from the Paramatma worship. Paramatma realization. We only talk about Brahman realization and Paramatma realization. There is no devotional service for Brahman. There is no devotional service for Paramatma. So it is not even indirect worship. So direct worship is when we worship Krishna through his bona fide representatives in Parampara. Indirect worship is when we worship different demigods or other agencies who offer benediction because they have the power sanctioned to them by Krishna. And Brahman and Paramatma are not worship as such, they are just realizations. And they come with some benefits. In Brahman stage, you may feel Shanti. You may feel eternity. And in Paramatma, you may feel all this, like siddhis. So you may get some blessings because you made that endeavor to realize them, but there's no worship there. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. That's why, they say we don't have to only read scriptures. We have to hear classes and realization of there is one Bhagavad book, and then the devotee speaking is another Bhagavad, right? I'm not getting the right name. So you made that come true today by answering, and thank you so much because having been in Krishna consciousness for many years also, still there is we still my mind is intriguing with so many questions as if I've just come into Krishna consciousness. So then I think that sometimes devotees say that you're a new learner. You should think that you don't know anything and you have to learn today something new. So then I said, okay, then it's okay to ask the question. So thank you so much, Mataji, for your association and answering so patiently all the questions and clearing the clouds in my mind, so I can be more clear on the basic aspects at least, and continue my spiritual life. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Very
Krishna,
grateful
Mataji.
for-
Thank you so much for this
Thank
wonderful
you.
class, Mataji. And very patiently, you have been answering all questions. Thank you, Mataji. And for, most important I've taken from this class is that during Ekadashi, one can, basically increase one's most important, if one cannot do something, at least focus on the japa and, bhakti with other devotees as a satsang or whatever. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. हरे कृष्ण. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhueva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anand Koti Vaishnavinta ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Mataji's name is Hema. Hema Gopi.
Hema Gopi.
Hema Gopi Mataji ki jai.
Jai.
श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.
Ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai, and everyday chant devotees ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare
And
Krishna.